How can you become a superior man, and what does that even mean or look like? Today we're going over part 2 of The Way of the Superior Man. What's up, refusers? Clark from refusing2settle.com. Welcome back to this week's book review, where we take the best books in self-improvement, finance, business, psychology, relationships, anything that's gonna make your life better, and we jam-pack it down, compress it. That was me compressing it into a 20 or so minute video with 10 key ideas. This week, we're bringing back one we did last year, The Way of the Superior Man. This is my single most gifted book. I give it to all my guy friends, I give it to some girlfriends because it helps both sides understand what's going on inside this bonehead brain of men. It's got a lot of universal principles about being in a relationship with another person that sometimes can feel like a different species. You're both human, but you're speaking different languages. So this is a great common ground book. It's my most gifted book ever. And without further ado, here is the 10 best ideas from The Way of the Superior Man. Big idea number 1. Just wanted to give some thoughts on this book. And why I like it is because it's bold. And I think that's the first big idea, is that part of being a superior man, and to define that word, you know, I just define it as the best version of yourself, the superior version of you. It's not dominating over others. It's not trying to take power from everybody. It's being the superior version of yourself. This book writes in such a way that's very authoritative and straight to it and bold. And I think I appreciate that in this world today, especially in Seattle, where you have to preface things with 20 minutes before you actually get to the core of what you want to say. And you can only have conversations openly with your closest friends without feeling like everyone's taking notes to judge you later on. And I just love that this book doesn't do any of that. I love that it's straight, it's to the point. Some of this stuff is probably gonna offend you. You're gonna disagree with about 25% of it, love 50%, and then be utterly confused about the next 25%. That's kind of the point of the book. It's to challenge you. It's not to make you agree with everything. It's to make you disagree, and I think that's part of what best books do. They push you out of that comfort zone a little bit. So that said, in this book review, I'm not gonna really tiptoe around certain topics. I'm not gonna preface things for 5 minutes and say, but not all the time, and blah, blah. I'm gonna speak in mostly generalizations. I'm gonna speak in mostly just from the gut, as is in the book. So if this isn't kind of your style, you might wanna sit this book review out. But for everyone else, let's be bold. Let's keep going on the next 9 points. Big idea number 2, polarity. Think about this. In life, when is there not an opposite? Night, day, hot, cold, east, west, up, down, north, south, infinity, zero. That's the polarity right there. And it's those two halves that make a whole. Well, in relationships, in life, there's masculine and there's feminine. And that's the polarization of the magnet, and it creates the attraction. Okay, in masculine and feminine book, he refers to it as your energy. So you see a lot of feminine dudes who are men, but they just have a feminine energy about them, right? And conversely, you see a lot of women who have a very masculine energy about them. So it goes beyond gender, it goes beyond sex, it goes beyond everything. It's an energy. Does that make sense? Sometimes we can't understand who we're dating or who we're with because they're literally the opposite of us. So if it feels like it's not making sense, like why does she do these things or why does he do that? It's because he's your polar opposite. She's your polar opposite, and don't get rid of that. Embrace the fact that they're the opposite, because that's what creates the attraction in the first place. Big idea number 3, you are what you attract. I knew a girl and she had a psycho boyfriend every single relationship, it seemed like. She'd come to me and I'd overhear her conversations. We weren't too close, but she'd be talking about it, and every single guy, it seemed like, she had a big falling out, you know, where they're throwing toasters at each other or something like that, or, you know, throwing clothes out the window and take your shit and leave kind of. And I realized that you are what you attract. She attracted that kind of person into her life over and over again, who was super dramatic because she loved the drama deep down. It gave her a sense of purpose. It gave her a sense of energy. It gave her a sense of feeling alive. And sometimes that's how people go about that sense of excitement, is creating that drama. So you are what you attract. And there's that saying that if it smells like shit, move away. But if everywhere you go smells like shit, check your shoe. So just tapping into that. And this isn't to say that if you've been unhappy in relationships in the past that, you know, it's 120% your fault. I mean, we do make bad decisions from time to time, but raise your standards, okay? Know that polarity, you'll always attract your reciprocal opposite. Like attracts like. So if you're unhappy in relationships that you're having, require more of yourself. Raise your standards for who you attract into your life, and you'll start attracting higher people into your life. 10s attract 10s, 5s attract 5s. And that's 10s in looks departments, but that's also 10s in where they're going in life with goals, ambitions, drive, personality, contribution, all that stuff. So keep growing as a person, and you'll attract higher quality people into your life. Big idea number 4. I want to update something I said on the last video a year ago. There's a point in this book that says never change your mind to please a woman. And I came out swinging. I was like, that's so true. Never change your mind to please a woman. Don't ever back down. And how did that work for me the past couple years in a relationship? Not very good. Let me tell you that, dudes. If you apply that piece of advice right there, you're gonna be in for a lot of arguments that could be avoided. Instead, here's what you do. It's not that you never change your mind to please a woman, and the thought behind that is that if you're constantly asking for her approval, if you're constantly, what do you think about this? Should I do this? And you're listening to her, well then she's gonna start to trust herself and her direction more than your masculine direction and your drive, which is probably what a lot of the feminine energy is attracted to in the first place. If she keeps leading you, so to say, she's gonna start to lose that attraction for you over time. That does not mean if you're in the car together and she has a faster way to get somewhere, you automatically dismiss it and say, no, I'm going this way because it's what the GPS says. That's just being rude. That's just being an asshole. If she has a faster way to get there, take the way and avoid that huge fight. This is just saying that the big picture stuff, like what should you do with your life? Should you go to college? Should you hang out with that person anymore? That kind of stuff, that'll always come back to you. You can seek her opinion out, but always go back to the core of your decision and your direction. A lot of people, they live their life and they want to give responsibility away to others. Like as a kid growing up, your parents were responsible for you. And a lot of people carry that into their 18, into 20s, into 30s even, and they're looking for people to be responsible for them. They're looking for their job to take care of them. They're looking for their partner to take care of them. And that's not a good place to have a relationship from, because then you're codependent, right? And you're responsible of them and they're responsible of you. And that also lets you shun the blame off on them when things go wrong. And that's how you can grow to resent people over time. Resent your job because they're not giving you what you want because they're responsible for it, right? Resent your partner because she can't fulfill you or he can't fulfill you, so it's their fault, not yours, right? Shun your business partners because they're not holding up their end of the bargain. When you take all that away, it sucks, because then who's responsible? You are. But who's responsible and gets the credit when things go right? You do. And who can control your destiny now and your direction? You can. Focus on the things that matter and always be responsible for what happens in your life. The next big idea, number 5, stop hoping for your woman to get easier. What you see is what you get. I know you've seen it. The people who are they get engaged and they might be a little delusional, to say it bluntly. There's like glaring flares in their fiance or their partner, like they're addicted to alcohol, let's just say. And the other person's like, yeah, it was a deal breaker, but you know, he's gonna work on it once we get married. He's gonna really change. He's gonna really stop. And you're just like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm not buying the fact that once you get married and sign a piece of paper that all of a sudden you're gonna go back through and change every aspect of your life. There's definitely second chances, there's definitely all that stuff, but the core of them, there's some traits that people never change. And if they're not doing it before you get married, why would they change when you get married? Some people get worse. And the same goes for awesome traits too. Who you're with is who they are, and stop trying to change them, because the more we try to change our partner, the more they're gonna internally fight against that, because that's change, and everything about us is primed to stay with where we're at. Act as if they would be the exact same person in 10 years than they are today, and base any future decisions off of that. Would you still be happy with that person if you both were the same people? You know, your circumstances are different. Maybe you had better jobs, maybe you had a better house, a better car, all the things that can change, but the core of you two together is the same. Is that going to be as fulfilling in 10 years from now? Do you like where that's going? Because just like the person pre-marriage to marriage, when they cross that bridge, it's like they're the same people, they just have a title change. It's the same thing with that over here with people in the future. Big idea number 6, praise her freely. All right, do this experiment for me. Next time you're on Instagram and you see like an Instagram model or you see like an Instagram bodybuilder, the fitness community is great for this. Look at the comments. Now, what do you notice? I notice that on the girls' Instagrams, it's always positive. It's always like, you look awesome there, or like, wow, inspiration, or slay, or all these positive, uplifting comments, right? And on the dudes' Instagrams, it's like, dude, calves need a little work. You skip leg day today? Can't believe you would do egg white protein. That's so lame, man. Saw bodybuilder X and Y and he looks way better than you. Or they're jabs at each other. And I was like, why is that? And in the book, it talks about how women grow through praise. The feminine energy is grown with praise and amplification. So you need to praise your woman freely. But the masculine energy, that grows through challenge. And this is so true even as a kid growing up. It was, I bet you can't jump over that fence, dude. Or I bet you can't go and talk to that girl. Or I bet you can't ollie that 5-stair. Or I bet you can't make $1 million one day. You know, as we get older, we still take that challenge mentality, that competition, competitiveness in with us wherever we go. And I'm talking to the guys right now, which is 80% of this channel watching right now. In your relationships, you're gonna have that habit of challenging your woman. You're gonna have that habit of wanting her to grow, and so you want to, you know, set goals for her. You're success driven watching this right now, so you're gonna be like, why don't you want the same things I want? Why don't you have the same ambitions? I've learned that's not the way to go about it, because the feminine grows through praise. You're gonna get so much further if you call the glass half full than what guys do to guys is sometimes you call a glass half empty and say, fill it up. Big idea number 7, what she wants is not what she says. This idea in the book talks about tests, and that the feminine energy is always challenging the masculine to prove, again, with praise and challenge, what we just went over. She'll always give you tests to challenge you. And what she says is not always what she wants. It's kind of a bit of a test to see what you're gonna do. If you text her and say, hey, can I go hang out with these friends? I know we had plans. She'll say, yeah, sure, go hang out. And what do you not do? You don't go and hang out, because you're gonna hear about that later, right? Or if you ask her, how are you doing? And she says, fine, it was great. And you just say, all right, cool, that's awesome, you had a good day, and you move on. Something wasn't great, right? So what she's saying is different than what she actually means. And that's not because they're lying. Think of it like this: men are tornadoes. When they're going, they're spinning, you know exactly what's wrong, you know where it's gonna hit, and it's gonna hit hard, and it always does. Okay, when something's wrong, you understand it. Women are more like hurricanes, and that there's warning signs sometimes weeks in advance, and then nothing happens. Or they can go for weeks, and you're like, oh my God, I have no clue when this is gonna end. Or the aftermath leaves you stranded floating down a river with your dog. No, I'm just kidding. They're both destructive when we get mad. Women are kind of that more, you have to read the signs, you have to figure it out. They're not always gonna be as direct. What she says is not always what she means. And men, we're just used to being, okay, it's hitting here, I know exactly when it's gonna hit, I know what to avoid, and you can pinpoint exactly what's wrong. Big idea number 8, don't hope for completion in life. I remember in high school, I was always hoping that I would make it to the next year. Freshman and sophomore, okay, when I'm a sophomore, I'll be a junior, and then I just wanna be a senior. And then I was a senior, and I'm like, I just wanna be in college. And then the same pattern repeated in college, and I'm like, well, I don't wanna be here because I wanna be out there exploring these entrepreneurial ideas or business, so I just can't wait to get this degree and move out. And then I moved out, I started this business, and I'm like, well, I can't wait till I get to that point of where I can travel the world for 6 months out of the year and still grow this business. There's always that next level we're trying to get to, and even now, as I'm I'm doing what I just said. You know, I was able to take 5-6 months off this year and play in a band and travel the world and make passive income the dream. I still am like, I can't wait till I get to that next level of 7-figure entrepreneur and hit that, so I can get a nice condo or get a nice car, have security, and know that if I wanted to stop hustling and grinding, I could. There's always that next level that we're trying to get to, and it's not about getting somewhere. It's kind of like driving on a river raft trip, you and your buddies. I use this analogy a lot, and you know, you're getting driven down this river, boat gets put in 5 miles from where you're supposed to end, and then you're like, actually, let's just drive 4 miles and a half, so we're half a mile outside the river, and you can just get pictures of us going across the river and having a good time, and then it looks like we did it, and it saves us time, it saves us all the struggle. I mean, how ridiculous would that be? Been there, done that, got the photo and the t-shirt, right? That's just the result without the process. But it's the process of falling out of the river, of getting wet, of you know, almost feeling like you're gonna die, that whole thing that makes crossing the finish line so valuable in the first place. Stop hoping for completion. Stop trying to skip that journey and just cross the finish line. Appreciate it all the way, but know that this isn't the goal. This is where the magic happens. Big idea number 9, you must put your purpose over the relationship. You must prioritize other things besides your relationship. This goes for both people, that if that's your ultimate goal, is that one thing, and you know, if you have problems, all your eggs are in that basket, it's gonna really affect the other person over time, and it's gonna pull you apart, not really put you together. So don't drop the things that you were doing before you met. Don't drop the things while you're with that person. You know, that guy who you have, your best buddy, who gets super obsessed with his new girlfriend, and you don't see him for 5 months, and then they break up and he's a mess, he's a wreck, and he's like, I wasted 5 months of my life. We all had that friend, or we've been that person. Don't stop doing the things that you should be doing if you weren't in the relationship. Big idea number 10, don't try to fix your woman. One of the biggest killers is Mr. Fix-It. And as a guy, we have this problem that when we're listening to our friends talk, we're like, all right, you should do X, Y, and Z and solve A, B, C. You know, we give really analytical solutions to people's problems. Whereas if you listen to women talk, they sit and talk for hours and they just nod their heads and they empathize with each other. It's all about acknowledging their feelings. And so as a guy, I have the habit of listening to someone's problems and trying to fix it and give advice and give solutions. Well, if you don't like the job, let's look for resumes and start looking for new jobs, and here, you know, I found 5 already and let's apply tonight. Versus she just wanted to vent about a tough situation at work and have an emotional connection. So sometimes asking, is this something you want advice for, or is this something you just want to talk about, is a great prefacing question that saves you that discomfort of because if she feels you're trying to fix her, she's taking that as criticism, what we talked about earlier. That's it. That's Way of the Superior Man Part 2. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked it, comment down below with something you disagree with. I want to know in the comments. I'm asking for you to argue with this video. Open up the conversation down there. You can also put what you agree with if you want, but feel free to argue, disagree in the comments below. Also, I'll link up the 11 questions to change your life. This is a free ebook I put out on the best 11 questions you can ask yourself in your phone, in your journal, when you're driving to work, wherever, and that will have the biggest impact on your life. We have the Refusing to Settle closed Facebook group down there that I post a lot of behind the scenes stuff with, mostly rants on Instagram and Facebook, all that. So if you want to join it, it's closed. You have to get approved, but once you're in there, you can connect with everyone and who wants to be on the path to refusing to settle. Until next time, stop settling, start living. See ya.